Welcome everyone to my first look of the channel. It's for a game in the series that I've been doing a long time on the channel. It's the 11th game in the Legend of Heroes and it's called Trails Through Daybreak. I thought it's the perfect pick to start off with for the first look series, as I know the series pretty well and what I want to see more from it. So we'll be going over the prologue of this game, and I think it should be enough to tell us where the story is going, what the game looks like, the style, a bit of gameplay, and if it's enough to pull us in for the main of the game that comes after this prologue. But be warned, there will be spoilers in regards to the prologue of the game in this video. So, now let's begin with the story. As we start the game, we see a gang and a couple of mobsters doing a deal in the underground. The exchange is about a case that what I assume is something very important inside. The deal quickly goes sour as the gang tries to go back on their deal and try to get more mirror out of it. The mobsters, of course, don't take this lightly. In this discussion that follows, they lose track of the case, and at that moment, the police arrives at the scene to cause even more chaos. The case is gone, taken by who they do not know, but we see a cloaked figure in the shadows marveling at his own genius. The next day, we see a high school girl named Agnes Claudel walking the streets of Old Town in search of arc-right solutions. I have to say at this point, when I played through this part, I had a hard time figuring out how to pronounce her name, like Agnes or Agnes. Thankfully, the comments and later on also the voice part helped to sort us out quite nicely. But let's move on for now. So, as she arrives at the bistro Montmartre, she meets the lovely Paulette at this bistro, and she helps her find arc-right solution that is in the office upstairs from the bistro. Then, laying on the couch, very much taking an after breakfast nap, Agnes knocks on the door, rudely awakening Van with a potential new job for him. As introductions go, it's a nice one. We get to know our two main characters by this interaction and learn more about the job and the important item that drives this prologue along. Van explains during this what a Spriggan is and what they do, mainly the difference between them and the bracers or the police. Agnes explains what she wants Van to do. She wants him to locate a memento of her great-grandfather, an ornament. Van, reluctant as he sees this is more of a job suited for the police or bracers, until he sees the dessert she brought along with her.
This is Andalusia's late summer limited time edition! The specially made tart covered in Violette de Soleil figs from Oregon honey!
I'm almost certain that dessert is what made Van decide to consider this job, and it showed just how much of a sweet tooth he has. And after this, they go do the rounds of Old Town, start investigating the disappearance of the ornament, and then he already has a few ideas, leads to where to go from here. Well, the setup of the story, it works really well. The start with the exchange show that the item in question is very important, and immediately after sees Agnes go to arc-right solution shows us it's connected to one another. It gives a proper hint of the stakes from the get-go, and it draws you in wanting to get to know more. And as the prologue progresses, we travel underground, see a murder, find the ornament in question, and with it, the biggest reveal we could expect. The origin of the ornament, its nature, and how it ties in with Agnes. All of this gripping us right into the story, making us not want to let go until we know more. And with this, the story does precisely what a prologue needs to do. It shows you the characters, who they are, what the stakes are, lift just enough of the veil to rein you into the story so you're hyped up to see more. It definitely worked for me. Agnes' great-grandfather is connected to everything, even before the beginning of the Trails in the Sky games, and I want to know more, and I'm sure we will. So for now, let's move on to gameplay. Like with the previous games, a lot of the old is back here once again. Crafts, arts, ornaments, side quests, a ranking system for our characters, And let's not forget cooking, all which are of course taught through all the Torah message we could need throughout the prologue. There are of course with every new entry a few new things added as well, just to test it out, see if it works, and if so, making it a permanent fixture of the series moving forward. Of the few new things they've added, these are the more notable so far. 1. An alignment system, based on the choices you make in the game, meaning that during quest and the main story, when you get a chance to make a decision, it will impact this system. Based on what you pick, it can give points into the light side, a chaos side, or the morally grey side. And as far as I'm with the prologue and what effects will be on the game long term, I still need to figure that out. We might get dated quests, rewards, or maybe even changes to the ending, but time will tell. I think they could potentially make things really interesting later on in the game. Which direction I will go, light, dark, grey, time will tell, because at this moment I'm torn to being the good person that we can be and seeing where chaos will lead us if we go fully dark on that. So very intrigued by this, but we'll have to see where the future will take us. 2. Drastic change they made is the one to combat. Like all the previous games were fully turn-based until now, but in this one they've added a real-time combat part into the mix. During these field battles you'll fight in real time against enemies using attacks, dodges, and special attacks that can stun your opponents. At any time during this combat phase, you do have the ability to switch to turn-based combat. To continue your fight with all the options we know a lot from the previous games, all the games, like using our crafts, using our arts, S-craft, and this gives us a wealth of options to fight our opponents with. Of course, certain battles like boss battles of course will only be fought in turn-based combat, which to me seems very logical. Even though I wouldn't mind having bosses tried in real-time combat, but if you do it like that, then you will have people that will only use real-time over turn-based, and how to balance that correctly, yeah, I know, but who knows, maybe in the future of the series. And for the 3rd, at the end of the prologue, we get a glimpse of something new, something really interesting, a new battle form for our main character Van. I shall not say too much about this, this is a first look video and I won't spoil too much, but it's really amazing, powerful and intriguing. This made it one of the things that may be very interesting in what comes next, what it all means, and if we'll find more of these forms for either Van or other people in our party. Well, like I said, very interesting. So far, I like the gameplay a lot. It's a lot of what we know and love of the entire series prior to this, and enough new things to make it interesting. Like in addition to the real-time combat, it makes fights more dynamic and a lot more fun to explore and to master it. It makes grinding between the episodes that I do a lot more fast and efficient, and I'm sure this will keep up during the rest of the game as well. It will be interesting to see, however, how adding more characters to the party will affect this part of combat moving forward, as will they fight equally as well as I do against the enemies, or will they mostly be running around while I handle that side of things? Like, will they actually be contributing to combat? They probably will, but into what matter, again, time will tell. The ranking system. Well, it's a lot like in the previous game and very self-explanatory. This time it's more like a self-evaluation than more like a ranking as in a guild or something like that, and it works pretty much the same way. The cooking system, however, has been changed up a little bit. So when we buy food or make food, which of course we'll be doing in the kitchen and stuff like that, when you eat them, you get gourmet points. And as far as we've seen so far, with these gourmet points we can level up, and with the leveling up through those points we get permanent stats for our parties, which is very interesting. And of course, because of this, you get a lot of different kinds of foods you can get, like tons and tons. In the prologue alone, we have almost like 20 or 30 different foods already. So extending this throughout the rest of the game is gonna be a ton. So it's definitely something we can look into. And if there are foods that are really great, then we can put them inside. It gives us a lot more options to use that more. Because in previous games, I don't use food as much. I know it's useful, but I usually just go with our standard items that we get from the item stores and not much with food. With this system, with the amount we get, I feel like I have more opportunity to go with that. And this whole system with all that kind of food, it does also kind of fit Van's, let's say, tendencies and his sweet tooth, so it works together pretty good. And so far, we haven't seen much in the form of mini games like fishing or anything else in that matter, not even a card game or such. So I'm hoping this will pop up in a little while. Even though it's not a must for me, but I do always like this kind of activities in the game. It mixes things up, as long as they don't make it mandatory. Because like I say, a good mini game should take you out of the story, be a bit of fun, but if it's like a wall that stops you from progressing the story, that's when I start disliking it. But I do hope it will pop up after prologue at some point. For now, let's move on to some positives and negatives I took away from the prologue. Alright, positives and negatives. So let's start with the negatives so we can end off on a positive note in this section. So there isn't a lot I feel are like big negatives as what we see in the prologue. The things I thought didn't work well are, for one, like the ATB bar. The turn order is not very clear at times. Like when you cast an art, the delay you get from it and where it's placed on the bar, at the moment it's not very clear to me. It could be that I need to experience it more in order to get more used to it, so we know how it better works and it's more clear, but at this moment for me it's not. And also the ATB bar, it could be a bit more pronounced, a bit bigger, because it's really small on the top of the screen and it could be handled better. Like in the previous game I thought it worked better, and I'm hoping that in the sequel, in Daybreak 2, they will address this and make it more efficient. The other thing is the timing you need during real-time combat to avoid an incoming attack. It feels really precise and you get hit more often than I feel it should be. Like I figured out that you get like red flashes when the attack's coming and a yellow light when it's actually there. And maybe after a while, when we get more used to real-time combat, we'll get better at it and we manage to avoid more. But right now, in the prologue, as far as we get, I've been getting hit a lot. So I'm hoping it gets better, but so far it's making me a little bit salty, but that could be me. For positives, the big one for me definitely is the visuals. Like every new game, they improve on the graphics, and with this one, they went all out. The style they chose for the world works really well. Edith, the place we've seen in the prologue, feels extremely modern, but when we go to Old Town, it has a French feel to it. So really different from one another. And I hope we'll see more of these different styles as we move forward. And if I'm being honest, when I first heard about Calvert in the previous games, I thought the cities would have more of an Asian style to it than what we've seen so far. So maybe later we see that, because with Heiyu and all that, that's the idea I got from it. But we'll have to see if there are areas that will cater to that. The style they picked for everything in the menus, character portraits, are just as impressive as well. It's different from the previous game, but it's beautiful all the same. It's colorful, it's vibrant. I really like it. And the choice of adding real-time combat as a second point, great. It gives combat a breath of fresh air that I quite enjoy. Was it needed? No. I think I would love this game without it if it was just turn-based, but I'm enjoying now that we have it, and we'll probably learn more and get into it the further on we go. Van and Agnes. So far, I really like these two characters. Like, Van is the good guy with no problems of going over to the dark side if needed, and Agnes is a little bit us in the prologue. Like, through her, we learn about this world, what it is to be a Spriggan and working in this line of work. And how these two interact with each other works really well, and I can't wait to see how this will develop further along through the story. Side note, I can't wait to meet and learn about all the other new characters we meet throughout the game. And having said that, I'm sure we're gonna meet more and more of the older characters we know from all the previous games in the series, and I cannot wait for that. That's gonna be so good to see as well. And as I said before, the story of the prologue does what it needs to do. The story, it grips me. It makes me look forward to learning more about the world, its characters, and what it all means in regards to this entire world, the whole Zemeria. And where it will go, time will tell. So, what's next? Well, with how the prologue went, I'm really excited to see where the story goes. With which characters we all gonna meet. Do we meet more of our old friends, villains? How Ouroboros is tied into this? Will there be other organizations? The president of Calvert, the new Orbment, and how it all connects to the history of Zemeria, connected to the familiar line with Agnes. What will Van get into with his sweet tooth, his love for trucks and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm really excited. But what's next for us? Well, after this, we're gonna go and continue on with the story in chapter 1. We're gonna play through it, we're gonna enjoy it, and at the end of the game, I'm hoping we can make another video more like of a final thought kind of thing, where I just go throughout the entire game, how I experienced it, what I liked, what I disliked, what I think the game does well, what it didn't, what I expect from Daybreak 2, and of course, what kind of grade we'll give the game. Will it be a number out of 10? Out of 5? Will we give it a random symbol that will represent what the game is? I haven't thought about it yet, but we'll get there in due time. For now, this is what it is. Our first look. So I thank you for everyone that's still here. I hope you enjoyed it, and as time goes on, I will try to refine this, make it more natural and more in a style that I feel comfortable with, but I think we have a base for this, and we'll work from this, making it better and better. So at this time, there's only one thing I can say, is that I wish you all a good night, morning, day, wherever you are, and if you're still here, remember to hit that like button, subscribe, and be back for more Daybreak or any of our other series. But until then, bye bye.